Vlog 177, and it's still me, your pal, Jaime, the shut-in cartoonist, musician, vlogcasting, of course, from the Tortilla Press World headquarters located on that island we lovingly call Alameda in the San Francisco Bay. Finishing up that second cup of coffee here that, let's see, oh, it's the Stumptown. We're going through that. I think we just finished that one because we make a big pot and drink that. And it's sent to us by Jorge Parada, brother Daniel. And we're enjoying it, Jorge. Love it. Thank you. And I think we're going to go back to Pete's for the next one. And then that's my plan, is I'm going to do, Stumptown Pete's. Stumptown Pete's. So, Stumptown Pete, sing this song, do-da. Anyway, today, it's kind of late morning. I mean, it's after 9. And Amy had some meetings to handle real quick down on the phone downstairs. So I've been up here holding up in my studio and not working because it's a Saturday. Though I'm several pages now penciled into my 13-page story that's going into the next issue of Tortilla. Today I spent the morning listening to Slim Whitman and Judee Sill, who I'm going to talk about in a moment, while drinking coffee and reading. Let me put this down. And reading Reid Fleming, The World's Toughest Milkman. I have the series here, the 5-book series of Rogue to Riches, and Reid Fleming by David Boswell, Canadian cartoonist. I bought these in the 80s. Here, I'll just bring one back out here. When they were coming out. And I think he's an underrated cartoonist. I even realized today that, I've never really talked about him. And his style, his drawing style is just incredible. I mean, he just has this, really beautiful style. And he does like 28 pages, and he would put out a book a year, and I could see why, because just the effort he put into each book. I mean, I thought I was slow, but boy, I'm just not this good. And man, this stuff, and it's written so well. He is just a funny dude. He's a big fan of film, so he writes in a style like, 1940s, like 30s and 40s black and white. Look at this stuff. Black and white films, comedies like The Thin Man and stuff. He just has a really good wit, acerbic wit in here. It's just a lot of fun. And just look at that style. Look at this cross-hatching and stuff. I mean, this is just amazing. Anyway, Reid Fleming, World's Toughest Milkman. It's a scream. I brought him out because as you know, I was redoing my whole studio here. And what comics I have, I'm hoping the rest are in my storage because I'm missing half of my comics. Like all my Stevens by Doug Allen. Fuck, I love those, and I can't find them. And I think I'm hoping they're in my storage unit. But anyway, so I saw the Reid Flemings, and I thought to myself, I don't read comics as much as I used to. Hardly read them at all. So like I said, I was up here listening to music, drinking coffee, and reading comic books. And it's nice. What a good way to start the day. The music, Judee Sill, Judee, Sill, Sill, was a singer-songwriter. She's a pianist and a guitar player. Really good at both, too. And what a singer. She could harmonize with herself very well. And her musical style, I would say, is somewhere between, if you're kind of wondering, a Joni Mitchell and Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. I shit you not, it's that good. And she was the first artist to be signed by Geffen Records around 1971 when her self-titled first album came out. And I've been hearing her name for years, for decades, working, playing music, collecting music, working in record stores, owning a record store. She's one of those names I heard. And one of the most frustrating things for me is that I could live 100 years, which I know I won't, but I can live 100 years and still not hear all the music I want to hear. To me, that's frustrating. And she was one of those names. So recently, thank you, Spotify. Get Spotify if you don't have it. It'll change your life. I looked her up, and sure enough, both those albums were in there. And the third album she was recording when she passed. And wow, I mean, I highly recommend her. She had, that album came out, her self-titled album came out in 71. In 73, her second album, which I'm now spacing on the name, but is a wonderful record too. The production, everything is just great. And then she became disillusioned with the music business, which is pretty easy to do, actually. The lack of decent promotion, which, that happens in the comic book world too, trust me. She stopped, and she apparently had quite a drug habit. She would get off into, addictions. And she even did some time. I guess she was involved in armed robberies and things like that. Pretty hardcore. In 1979, she was, I don't know, like 2/3 or something through her third album. She was going to give it another shot, and she OD'd. They found her dead, and the coroner, the local authorities thought, that it was suicide, but all her closest friends say it wasn't. It was probably an accident. So, sad, but one of those artists now that's like, you're starting to hear little rumblings about Judee Sill, and man, she was good, really good. Native Californian. She was born in Southern California, partially raised up here in Oakland, and then went back down to SoCal. So little California pride there. But it's interesting how some of these artists, I've talked about Nick Drake. He's one of my absolute favorites. I discovered Nick Drake in high school, the end of high school. I was working at the record store, and I was going through, probably still am going through it, a pre-World War II acoustic blues thing, which then had me go off into more Americana, like Pete Seeger, but also, later, Dave Van Ronk and John Martin and people like that. And I saw this Nick Drake album, Pink Moon, and I asked, it was either Rick or Dennis, hey, what about this guy? And you might like him, so I bought it for like 50 cents, $1. It was a used album. I still have it, by the way. And went home, played it, and fell in love with it. Just the title song alone, And came back to work like a week later and said, hey, that Pink Moon album, I wonder if that guy's ever going to tour. And I can't remember if it was Rick or Dennis, said, I think he died. I think he's been dead a few years now. And mind you, this is like 1978, 1979. I'm talking about this guy, and yeah, he's already been gone. And I think was it a car commercial years ago? Was it cars? I can't really think of them using Pink Moon to sell beer or dog food or anything. But anyway, it came on the TV, and I remember sitting up on the couch going, "Holy shit, that's Nick Drake," and got me listening to him again. And when I had the record store, I ended up ordering a bunch of his CDs because all I had was vinyl. And yeah, so I got, all the stuff, and I highly recommend him too. He was, what a talent, but he ended up also dying of some kind of overdose or something. Like, he was on meds. I think he was bipolar or something, and I don't know. I have to go look it up. You can look it up, and he was gone in the mid 70s, around 74, which then brings me up to another artist I've talked about recently on here, Connie Converse, who is an academic who worked for, hell's bells, I can't remember, but the last place she was working, I think, was University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and she was from the East Coast. She lived in New York and worked there, and also in the early 70s, she recorded a bunch of music, like amateur-wise. I mean, like on, home recording or somebody's garage or something, but really haunting, interesting music. And they said in the early 70s, once her department was getting shifted back to New York or something, again, I could be wrong here about the timeline, but I know it was the early 70s, her family said she loaded up her Volkswagen Bug and drove the opposite way, went out west or somewhere, nobody knows. They never heard from her again, ever, to this day. So another one of those artists that's just, what happened? And great music. I'm sure there's thousands of artists out there probably like that, and it's a bittersweet thing. It's sad when you hear the music and realize they're not here, but the sweet part is you find their music and you become a fan. So there you have it. That's it for me today. That's a whole 9 minutes of your life you're not getting back. But thank you for joining me. It looks like a great day out, so if you have to go out, mask up, keep the hands washed, sanitized, keep away from people, be kind to yourself and others. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Let me know your thoughts on this stuff, on this music. And Judee Sill, Judeesill. Nick Drake, as it sounds, Nickdrake. And of course, Connie Converse. I'm not going to even start spelling everything. You got it. Converse like the tennis shoes. All right, everybody. I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.